The next feature that I'm going to talk about is called subject relations. Subject relations are actually mentioned, they're cited in the Zanzibar paper, and subject relations allow us to perform a function very similar to an arrow, but to hoist the decision about whether to perform that arrow, to walk that traversal, into the data plane instead of defining it as a schema. And I think this is best explained with another example. So I've gone ahead and reduced this example back down to just a simple document and folder hierarchy to keep things clean. But what we're going to do here is we're going to add a new definition called groups. Groups should be a very familiar concept. Something like Google Docs has it, where you can belong to a group and then you can share a document with a group. And in fact, that's exactly what we're going to use to model here today. So within a group, I want to have a relation to members of the group, and that's going to be of type user. Okay, so we can go ahead and we can set up a group in our test relationships and say group, I don't know, engineering. And then we can say the users, members of the group. This should just be member. The members of the group are user engineer 1 and engineer 2. Okay. And so now what we have is we have a group, and the group is sort of floating off on its own. It's disconnected from the document. If we go back and we regenerate, we see that there's no engineers listed as viewers of our quarterly planning doc, but we're going to go ahead and give that group reader access to our document. So we're going to start by extending our reader relation to say that it can also take groups. And what we could do now is we could write a simple relationship where we could say that, I'm just going to delete these, where we could say that document quarterly planning as reader of group engineering. Now, you might expect in our expected relations that engineer 1 and engineer 2 would show up as readers. But what's happening here is that we've got a type mismatch. So here we've got users who are the terminal object. Those are the users that we're asking questions about. And then we've got groups, and we've got them set up as peers. What we could do is we could attempt to walk, right? So we could say reader or reader member, and this would get us our desired result. So if we regenerate, we get our engineer 1 and our engineer 2, but we also still have the raw group object. And now we've opened up a potential hole where if we add a relation on user called member, whatever we define this as is all of a sudden going to start getting picked up by view. So what we want to do is we want to reconcile the types. We want to make sure, that all of the readers are of type user when they're fully resolved. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to use a subject relation. And we're going to say that rather than making a group readers of the document, we're going to make a group's members reader of the document. So this has a functional difference, and it's a different thing that we're trying to express. We're no longer saying that the group is a reader. We're saying that the members of the group are readers. And so here we can no longer traverse into member because reader, neither of these things, users don't have members and users don't have members. So these are now both of type user. And then in our test relationship, we have to actually express using an optional subject relation that it's the members of the group that are readers of quarterly planning. And then if we open up our relationship grid, we can see that those show up as the subject relation. Now, if we go over here and we ask SpiceDB, who are all of the people who have view on the quarterly planning doc, we see that now the members of the group have the read access to quarterly planning, and fully resolved, that's engineer 1 and engineer 2. So this is usually the correct way to take one of these decisions that could have been a schema time decision if we were doing reader member, and move that into the data plane where we make the decision. We, the relationship writer, makes the decision about the type and how we should continue to descend into this object when we're doing our group resolution.